So Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an inflammation of the thyroid gland due to an attack from your body. Your B lymphocytes are producing antibodies that are then targeting the thyroid gland, and by attacking it, destroying it, it becomes inflamed. So Hashimoto's manifests completely different from other autoimmune diseases such as MS or RA or Crohn's, but the underlying cause is exactly the same. So I'm going to start the video explaining how autoimmune diseases manifest so that you know how to actually treat the root cause, because taking hormones will manage your symptoms. Removing the gland surgically will manage some of the symptoms, but it doesn't solve what caused the autoimmune disease, right? So in order for you to have autoimmune disease, the first and foremost, what you need to have is a code in your DNA, in your genes, for you to manifest this or this other autoimmune disease. Given that there are more than 100 that have already been discovered, different autoimmune diseases, and probably we're gonna find out more, it is pretty safe to say that we have at least one genetic predisposition for one of these diseases, if not more, right? So we have the gene there, but I always say here that genetics is never your destiny. So I have gene for obesity and diabetes, and I have never manifested those conditions because of my environment, because of your epigenetics. So that gene can stay silent, right? The only way you turn it on is with a trigger. And triggers for autoimmune diseases can be many. It can be every kind of stressor. So a traumatic brain injury, a big surgery, a postpartum, an infection from a very serious bacteria or virus like Epstein-Barr virus or Lyme disease or even COVID. And it can also be a toxin when it exceeds the capacity of your body to get rid of it. So it's that little drop that really spilled the bucket, right? So the toxins can be heavy metals, they can be pesticides, they can be herbicides, they can be other chemicals that will disrupt your normal functioning because your body was not able to get rid of that. And then that can turn on the gene for many bad things, autoimmune disease included. And then finally, you have to have a intestinal dysfunction. So the barrier there of your gut has to be dysfunctional in order for you to show to your immune system something that it wasn't supposed to see. So let's back up and explain that. So the cells of your gut, your tube, right, from the mouth to your anus, it is a tube lined with cells. And the job of these cells is to secrete enzymes, secrete things, mucus, and also to absorb nutrients, correct? Right under these absorptive cells, you have something called GALT, the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. And that is basically a great, big, huge part of your immune system is lying right there beneath your absorptive cells in your gut. So it's very prone to see things that are foreign to the body. So when the gut is functioning correctly, all the cells are joined together, and it is like a cloth, a very thick cloth, that only certain things pass through this cloth. So broken down proteins in form of amino acids, broken down fats in the form of fatty acids, free fatty acids and glycerol, and then broken down carbohydrates in the form of mono and disaccharides. Anything bigger than that, your body will see as foreign. So when you don't digest properly, when these cells are all open because of intestinal permeability, the famous leaky gut, it is leaking things inside your body that your immune system should not be seeing. And then it's also going to be seeing the bacteria or bacterial fragments or bacterial toxins like LPS. And then when it sees that, it goes haywire and it starts mounting an immune response. And then depending on that kind of immune response, it will attack certain parts of your body. So if it attacks your nerves, you're gonna have MS. If it attacks your skin, you can have alopecia or psoriasis. If it attacks your thyroid gland, you will have Hashimoto's. So once you understand that you need these three things in order to manifest an autoimmune disease, you will understand that if you have to surgically remove your gland because it became cancerous, right? If you injure anything, it may become a cancer. Same thing with the thyroid. Maybe you have to surgically remove your thyroid. Did you take care of your genes, of the triggers, and of the intestinal issue? No. So you still have that autoimmune disease. You just don't have the gland to show for it. Guess what? It's going to happen. You're going to develop another autoimmune disease. And this is very, very common. People that have one autoimmune disease tend to have one or more other autoimmune diseases concurrently. And the ones that are more associated with Hashimoto's is celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So the first information you need to know is that no matter what you do to manage your symptoms, whether it's taking hormones, whether it is removing the gland, or taking other kinds of medicines for your depression, for your fatigue, and all that bad stuff that happens with Hashimoto's, you are not treating the cause. And until you treat the cause, you're never going to go into remission, right? And remission is when you lower your antibody so much that your body is not attacking the gland anymore, in the case of Hashimoto's. So the other information you need to have is that if you already have a diagnosis of Hashimoto's, go ahead and ask to be run a celiac panel on you, just to make sure that you're also not celiac, because then there's other things that you have to be doing. Or maybe test for gluten allergies and non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which is kind of hard to test for unless you remove gluten and kind of test to see how you feel. But we'll talk about that later. And then just really be on the lookout and trying to work these underlying conditions, these triggers and mediators, so that you don't develop another autoimmune disease, which is very, very common, unfortunately. And then you just add assault to injury, right? So the thing with the gut is that, as we can see, the genes you can't really change. You can silence your genes, but you can't change the coding, right? The triggers you can definitely work on, removing these triggers, detoxing your body from heavy metals, detoxing your body from toxins, not exposing yourself again, really managing that stress component that is so important in Hashimoto's. But then you can definitely work on your gut so that your gut is not allowing things that trigger your immune system to pass anymore. And the other thing that you have to do in your gut is work with the bacteria in there for it to be nice and balanced. So you want to have a lot of the diversity, a lot of the good guys, not much of the bad guys, and the neutral guys also have to be there just to have a nice ecosystem in there. So if we think about it, Ayurveda 5,000 years ago already said that all disease starts in the gut. Hippocrates also said, he coined the famous phrase, all disease starts in the gut. And then in the medieval times, the doctor, the German nun doctor, her name was Hildegard von Bingen, she also had a gut first approach. And now us in the functional medicine side are always talking about your gut and the leaky gut and the dysbiosis, and it's like we're a broken record, but it's because all disease starts in the gut. If the gut is nice and closed and your digestion is perfect, the likelihood of you having inflammation and disease is very, very low. So the reason, so now back then, Ayurveda, medieval times, Hippocrates, they didn't have the studies. Today we do. So for example, I will mention a study that they did in mice, that they made them germ-free, which is a bad thing. You want to have bugs in your gut. So they made these mice sterile, with sterile guts, and they found that their neurotransmitters of dopamine were all messed up, and this influenced them having more TSH. And you know that when you have more TSH, you probably have a hypothyroid. And also they saw that these germ-free mice, they had less Treg cells and Th17 cells, which are cells in your immune system. These are T cells in your immune system that really dampen the immune response. They kind of keep it in control and don't let it get overactive, and then it starts attacking the body. So these mice that did not have these good bugs in their gastrointestinal tracts did not have this ability to modulate their immune system, and then they could go on and develop autoimmune disease. And just remembering, yes, it was a study on mice, but how do you do a study like that in humans? It's impossible. You can't make a human germ-free in their gut. So we have to live with the mice studies. So we do want to, and the other thing with the gut So that was the dysbiosis part, right? The bug part of the gut. The other thing with the gut is that barrier. You don't want that barrier to be leaky. But then there's also deiodinases, which are enzymes that convert T4 into T3, which is the active part of the hormone, in your intestinal wall. And if that intestinal wall is inflamed and not working correctly, then you're not converting T4 into T3 in your gut. And then you have all those thyroid symptoms of fatigue, of poor metabolic health, constipation, cold extremities, and all that you already know. So what is the treatment for root cause Hashimoto's? It is a big approach, but it starts in the gut. So you want to fix those bugs, right? Find the correct balance there. Even if you need to do a kill protocol, if you need to re-inoculate with probiotics, there are certain strains that are good. This is very complex. You can't get into detail here in the video. You also want to optimize your digestion, make sure that you're absorbing everything correctly. So working the gut as a whole. And then you want to remove the toxins. Remove what you already have that's accumulated, but also stop exposing yourself. So removing amalgams or not putting amalgams in your mouth, working to chelate some heavy metals if you have those, not exposing yourself to heavy metals with a good filter, with a good air filter, water filter, personal healthcare products, cleaning products, all that we talk about a lot here in this channel. Eating more organic so that you're not exposing yourself to all those toxins. Then you want to look at your diet. And the diet for Hashimoto's is a low glycemic, so meaning the carbs, the proteins, the fiber are very balanced so that you're not spiking your blood sugar all the time, because that causes inflammation. And inflammation is the underlying cause of all chronic diseases. And then you want your diet to be very anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. So a lot of colors, a lot of real food, very little processed food, very little sugar. Dairy and gluten, we can explore this in another video a little bit better. Because for gluten specifically, there is a molecular mimicry in terms of the protein gliadin being very similar in structure to the thyroid gland. So your body mounts a response against gluten, but it also attacks the thyroid since it's so similar. And the other thing that gluten does is produce zonulin. And this is every time for every person. It doesn't matter if you're sensitive or not. It triggers the release of zonulin. Zonulin in your gut does this, opens the tight junctions up, and you get leaky gut. It can be transitory for some people don't bounce back as well. But we can explore that further later. You want to optimize your vitamin D. Vitamin D repairs those tight junctions, making your cells in your intestines close back again, but it also modulates your immune system, which is so good for it to not be so haywire, hyperactive. Other nutrients that are very important for thyroid that you have to measure in your blood, see if it's low, and if it is, optimize those levels. Zinc, magnesium, vitamin A, selenium, vitamin C, iron, and iodine is a little bit controversial because, in a nutshell, it would be only interesting to supplement iodine in food form coming from algae in hyperthyroid patients with an iodine deficiency, and you have to measure that in a 24-hour urine collection to know that. So just not taking iodine like crazy, it could actually worsen your Hashimoto's, although iodine is very important to convert your thyroid hormones, and then there are certain supplements we can use, and they are mainly the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant ones. And I can mention them here, but I don't want you to go out and buy them without supervision, because too much antioxidants coming from supplements, not food, not ever food. You can never overeat antioxidants in food because your body knows how to regulate that. But in supplement form, you can actually be pro-oxidizing, promoting oxidation because of the excess of antioxidants, and then worsen your inflammation. So omega-3 is a good anti-inflammatory, curcumin, and you can get that from food too. Moringa, you can get that in tea. Resveratrol, you can get that from grapes, but a supplement form is better absorbed. Alpha lipoic acid, N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, all those will work with the oxidation and inflammation that is generated by that leaky gut, by that autoimmune disease. And then the essential oils that you can use are, it's funny, myrrh was given to baby Jesus, right? It promotes the conversion of T4 into T3. So there are other ones that we can use too. And I'm getting here close to my limit of 15. So I'm going to stop from here and then we can do a second video next time.